participating in the American Graduate T4 Project. Through this ongoing project, WFSS is raising awareness about the impact of dropouts in Cumberland County, encouraging community participation through volunteerism and mentoring, and sharing resources to help keep our kids in school through graduation. I want to thank each of you for coming and joining us today. If I could ask us just to go around the table, each of you to share your name and also a little bit about your job, the work that you do. And we'll just start right here.
My name is Tanya Sandage. I am the counselor at Fuller Performance Learning Center High School. This is my first year there. It has truly been a rewarding experience for me, just working to try to get students back in school.
I'm Pamela Story, Social Work Coordinator and Dropout Coordinator for Cumberland County Schools.
My name is Derek Thomas. I'm currently a sophomore at Fairfield State University, and I'm a criminal justice major.
My name is Jean Collins. I am the school social worker at 71st High School, and I've been there for 12 years.
My name is Dina Havens. I'm the school social worker at Douglas Byrd High School, and this is my second year.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming and being here. Cumberland County has one of the lowest dropout rates in North Carolina, but I've heard some of you say already that one dropout is one dropout too many. Let's first talk about, and I'm just going to throw this out on the table, let's talk about why do students drop out of school? And Pamela, I'll put you on the spot.
Students drop out of school for many reasons, and we have found in working with our students, oftentimes the impetus for dropping out begins as early as the elementary school. So certainly we know the basic reasons: pregnancy, incarceration, suspensions, family dysfunction, but there are also other factors. Sometimes children just lose interest.
Does anyone else have some comments?
I think there's also a connection issue. If they don't feel connected to the school, they begin that isolation process, and slowly they withdraw to the point where they stop coming.
I also think that students who have been held back get discouraged by just the actual number of not being in the correct grade or the grade that their peers were in. So it does something to them mentally as they're in 5th and 6th grade with certain students, and then they have to, they see their peers progressing and they're held back into a different grade, and it could happen multiple times throughout their education.
I would just like to piggyback off of what was said too with even the school connections, because a lot of times the state has so many requirements on us for testing that sometimes whether we're a classroom teacher or whether we're an administrator in a school, we're focusing on that. So therefore we don't have, we may not put as much time into, basically getting that connection with the students, that emotional support that they need as well.
I would like to agree with Ms. Thomas and Ms. Sanders were saying. As I was speaking on earlier outside, when children does not feel that security level within teachers, like she said, they shut themselves off. I have been there before where if I don't feel like a family connection between me or a teacher, I disclose myself from everything that's going on. I do my work, I stay to myself, I wouldn't ask questions, and that becomes a problem. When the child feels like he can't rely on the teacher, he shuts himself down mentally and physically. He don't want to go to class, he don't want to be in the class, he don't want to be around peers, and that shell shocks him away from wanting to be at school. He'll find any and every way in their power to stay away from school.
And something that you mentioned, Pamela, that it starts many times as young as elementary school. What are signs and symptoms that we are beginning to see in elementary school or at any time that shows that that child, that student is at risk?
I think attendance is a huge part of that. You see a lot of students who, at age 16, who are at risk of dropping out, having multiple absences, and if you look at their attendance history, they've been to many different schools, maybe moved often, which accounts for some absences, but in there they've just had a history of missing many days throughout their time.
Which again puts them further behind, and retention occurs, And at this point, again, they become disengaged with the entire system.
And then once they actually too, like when they get to the attendance and, you know, and whether it's because of their moving from place to place, what happens is that their behavior may actually change. So therefore, it's becoming like maybe even a difficult part in the classroom, but not because they're bad kids, you know what I'm saying? It's just that, you know what I'm saying, they have other factors that are actually affecting that. So, you know, we just have to kind of just maybe try to focus on, okay, what is it that I can do to help you? I mean, and really creating that positive behavior.
Something I would like to touch on, and another problem is when children reach the age of 16, they feel like, oh well, I have the right to drop out if I feel like it, because they feel in the state of North Carolina you're practically legal. So if they take away that right or that feeling that they have where, oh, I'm 16, I can drop out, that'll cut back a lot too, because I know when I was 16, there was a lot of peers that I had that dropped out of school and stopped coming. They chose to not come to school and run around and miss days and play around, walk the halls when they should have actually been in class learning. And that's a problem too. Teachers let students, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I feel like you should have a time limit.
Let's talk about some things that are working best in strategies and for dropout prevention. And Dina, if I could ask you, Douglas Byrd was recently applauded for cutting their dropout rates in half. Your opinion, and that's what we're asking, the opinions and thoughts and what do you see as things that are working?
I think that Douglas Byrd has really focused on a team approach. We're taking the student as a whole from the minute they walk in the door through the secretaries, the teachers, the support staff, student services, administration. We're reaching those students at many different levels. Our counselors are by alphabet, so those counselors are working with those students from the beginning of their time at Douglas Byrd through when they graduate. And they can put a plan in place to show them what they can do to graduate on time, even if they are behind with their peers. We do NovaNet classes during the day and after school, which are online courses that they can work on. We also do the North Carolina Virtual Public Schools, so NCVPS, if they have a certain GPA, they can actually do classes from home through that program. NovaNet is at Douglas Byrd with a teacher there, and then also Fuller. I think Fuller has helped many of our students through Race to the Top. We had social workers working through the summer to pull back students, to pull students back in who had dropped out, to show them, a plan is in place for them to be able to graduate. I think a lot of it is follow through and holding them accountable too. I can speak for myself that, when I see a student's at risk, I don't give up. I will go to their house, I will call them, I will show them I'm here, I will do whatever I need to do. I will work with teachers, we'll have meetings, I will go get them coffee if that's what they need. It's whatever you need to do to help that student, to show them that there's someone to care for them at that school.
Tanya, there's been reference to Fuller Performance School, and tell us a little bit, for those that maybe are not aware, haven't heard that much about us, just briefly explain the school and its objectives.
Well, like Tina was saying, that they have NovaNet classes. At Fuller Performance Learning Center, it really is a school that was designed for students, to prevent dropout, at-risk students, to be able to come back to school. They work on the NovaNet on the computers. They do have like some offline assignments and some book work, but most of it's actually done there, because most of the time that we've actually found when students come in on their application, they say that they like that because it's not an intimidating environment, that they're able to actually be able to work at their own pace. Now, they do actually have pacing guides, and we do kind of plan things out for them, but at the same time, they're working at their own pace to be able to get finished with something. We do have seat time waivers at Fuller, which means that once students actually have completed a course, they do not have to stay in the course the entire semester. They can move on to the next course. And that really works for a lot of students, because most of them coming in are behind, are not on track, or their original graduation date might actually be pushed back because they've actually moved from place to place. We do have a large population of single parents there, having problems with daycare. So they have actually said, look, I need to work and I don't have this, so I'm actually staying out of school. So there's a lot of reasons why they're actually there. At Fuller, what we do is we actually have advisories with the students. We have like a one-on-one relationships with them. We actually are paired up. They do morning motivation throughout the week, you know what I'm saying? So we try to create this relationship that's going to kind of keep them coming back. We call them on a daily basis. If they're not at school, we're on that telephone. We're calling, and those parents are very thankful for that. But we let them know, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes our students are over the age of 16, so, you know, but still, they're knowing that that is actually important to them, and we're letting them know how important it is for them to actually graduate. So just a very close environment. We try to actually create that relationship with them.
I would like to touch on what Ms. Andrews was saying. I actually attended Fuller, and I actually graduated from Fuller. Fuller was a life-changing experience. Like she said, they do the motivation in the mornings, well, I think it was actually in the afternoon when I was there, but that actually helps students. I feel like no matter how rebellious a child is, when someone actually shows them that they do care, a child will change. A child can be rehabilitated in so many states, in so many ways and forms. So when I went to Fuller, like she said, it's very hands-on, it's family-oriented. When you attend a big school, you really feel like you left out. You have to deal with children who also may drop out because they feel they're being bullied, they feel like they don't have enough attention. But at smaller schools, you have that spotlight that you need. So at Fuller, when they did the motivation, it actually, some kids got something out of it, some kids didn't, and they're very flexible with time. Like, they work around your schedule, they help you, and it's self-paced. So you can work at your own time. You really can't do the Novenet at home, but you have time to look on Kia or the websites that they have at home so you can be caught up on your work. It teaches you responsibility in so many words. It teaches you a lot of responsibility.
You know, something that I was wondering about, on the dropout rates, the numbers when they show dropouts, how is it affected when a dropout returns to school? Is that number, they still were a dropout, and then how is it shown that they have returned? How does that reflect on our numbers?
North Carolina Department of Public Instruction looks at dropouts during the academic school year. So if a student has dropped out in the 2010-2011 school year, but he returned in 2011-2012, he is still a dropout because we always report to the state 1 year behind.
About how many students do we have returning? Do we have any numbers on that? Those that have dropped out and then returned to continue school?
I can give you the numbers that we know of from our launch party. We identified 650 students who had dropped out, and as Dina mentioned, we had an initiative where we used Race to the Top funds to hire social workers who actually went out, made contact with those students, and we did our very best to bring them back. I do not have the exact number at this time, but in a recent discussion, I was told of approximately 50 students actually returned, and of that 50, if I'm not mistaken, approximately 30 are on track to graduate. Now, when you're looking at big numbers, that probably doesn't sound too impressive, but as you mentioned in the beginning, if we can get one student to return, that's a success, because one dropout is one too many. And as you mentioned, Cumberland County continues to hover below the state rate. But the great news this year is that in North Carolina, the dropout rate has decreased across the entire district. So our goal in Cumberland County is to continue. We're looking at the numbers, comparing 1 year to the next year, not focusing so much on the total rate, but looking at what additional strategies we can implement to make sure that next year the rate is even lower.
And I would just like to add too that I really believe, and I'm going to say the first annual, dropout prevention launch party, because I really hope in the years to come there's going to be more. The initial thing that we needed we hear about dropout, but for us to Cumberland County to make that initiative, and to that launch party had principals, from all people in the community, just all these people that were actually involved and was interested in bringing these kids back to school. And it was just like Dina was talking about, even at Douglas Byrd, it really is like an effort of like a team, you know what I'm saying? So I really believe that that really was the first thing that we truly needed to really just try to start this initiative.
I would like to touch on that. I think I actually attended the one that was at Fuller. I actually was there, and it kind of touched me because I seen so many kids that I actually went to school with, and I actually was there when they dropped out in the 8th grade and the 9th grade and different grades and so forth. I was like, wow, you actually coming back to school. And I feel like things happen that make kids say, you know what, I need to go back to school. I feel like if you actually take a look at most of the kids that drop out, their backgrounds, that was my biggest thing. That's why I never dropped out of school. I said I want better than what I grew up around. I want to better my family. I want to give somebody else an opportunity or some type of hope that you can make it, no matter where you come from. I feel that's the biggest thing. If you can inspire somebody else, you can live forever. If you make an impact on one person's life, you make an impact on many.
Very true, very true. You know, we've talked about some of the programs. Do all of the schools have programs to help students that have dropped out if they feel like they've missed too much time and they're feeling discouraged? If they feel like they have a situation that they need to work, they feel like they have a child they maybe need to care for, they're responsible, maybe even a situation of just being uncomfortable in a large class. Do each and every one of the schools within Cumberland County have programs to help and accommodate these things?
I would say at the high school level, we like to look at them as interventions more so than programs. And each and every high school has a team of student services staff members comprised of social workers, counselors, school psychologists, administrators, safe school coordinators. These folks come together and meet on a regular basis and identify these students and put all kinds of creative and innovative strategies in place across the district. I do want to say, though, that what I've heard time and time again and from this young man, it's about relationships. When all is said and done, at the end of the day, it's the relationships that have been established between the social workers, the counselors, the teachers, the custodians, the bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, folks who really care, that really make the difference.
And I want to touch on that. I was reading, well, we were discussing in one of my juvenile justice class, if you think about it, how do the outside world get the younger kids? They make them feel wanted, as in the gangs and things like that. Kids want to feel a part of something. So if you can give them a type of environment where they can feel a part of, where you can say, well, hey, you can join this club, you can join that club, or if you come back to school, you can do this, you can do that. They have some type of sense of hope in their head, or they will, maybe they actually do care about me. Maybe I don't need to do this. Maybe I should do that. That's where it started. If you can get a child to feel like they belong in school or they're wanted in school, they would want to come in the long run. So,
and I just want to add that Jean Thomas, who's with us, is a seasoned social worker at 71st. And each time that I visit that school, not to say that any of the others aren't doing the same thing, but her name, I hear students calling her name. They're stopping her as she goes down the hall. They're in her office. They're calling her on the intercom. I mean, they know who cares at that school. And I would just like to applaud not only Ms. Havens and Ms. Sandridge, but also Ms. Thomas, because she has done what we strive to do every day, and that is to let students know how much she really cares.
You know, it's tremendous what the school system is doing. What is your opinion of parent community involvement in this to keep students in school? How active is the community? How active are parents? And this again is just your opinion, what you think on this.
well, I know my mother was very, very strict on education. That's one thing she always instilled in my head was education. And school was the top priority. It's been times I was sick and I still went to school. The playing sick, the whole, oh, I don't feel good today. if you didn't have a temperature or you wasn't that bad off, you were going to school. So I applaud my mother for that. So parents play a major part. If you have parents that tell their kids, well, okay, that's fine, you don't want to go to school today, don't go. I feel like it shouldn't be a choice. I feel like it should be go to school. If you're alive and breathing, you should attend school. And parents should instill that in their head that school is very important. Because you have to have a degree even to, I mean not a degree, a diploma to even work at McDonald's and things of that nature now. So education is very well needed.
And speaking to that, I wish that was the case for all of our homeless, or all of our children, because a lot of them are homeless and are unaccompanied youth that fall into that dropout mode because they don't have the support at home. And I think that's where we as school social workers really try to come into play, because we're also the homeless liaisons at the school. And we are that sometimes mother when a mother's not in place, or a father when a father's not in place, to call in the morning and say, you need to get to school today. Did you miss the bus? I'm on my way to pick you up. It's the relationship that you make with them. But that's not always the case. We do have a lot of parents that are very actively involved and are in the school building and in the hallways. Children act differently when parents are involved. When they know that that's my next door neighbor and that parent will go home and tell my mom what happened at school today, it's a lot different. So it's wonderful. Community is always the biggest support that we need, whether it's from the local grocery store to the churches to the leaders. As much as we can get involved as what we all need.
I think also Cumberland County is working on the positive behavior intervention and support. You'll hear sometimes from parents that they only get a phone call if their child has been in trouble. So something at Douglasburg we're doing is we send postcards, and it's great news, and we just write when they have improvement in attendance, when they have done good on an exam, for multiple different reasons, whether they've been respectful to an adult, for whatever reason. We try to encourage and show them through positive relationships that they can succeed, because we've even we had an email from a parent stating how much it meant to her to receive positive feedback from what her child has done, because she was so scared to usually answer the phone from the school because she was so
She's right.
yes.
Yeah.
They did something like that at Fuller as well. When I was going there, it was a weekly assembly that we had where you would get different awards, achievements, the Bentley Award, every time progress reports or report cards came out, the student who had the A's, or most well dressed, or most behaved, or student that made the most points that week, and things of that nature. And we also had, like she said, what we'll call, it was a cell phone buddy thing. So it was basically a school initiative. The principal made everybody get each other's cell phone numbers, and if your cell phone buddy wasn't at school, you would have to call them. So it was a school level. So it was like, are you texting your cell phone buddy? And I know it was plenty of times where I had to call my cell phone buddy like, hey, school is the day, where are you at? So that was a good initiative when everyone is involved. So.
And it definitely works. I just want to add to that, Derek, because even a student today, they have like a cell phone buddy, which was one of their mentors. And actually, you see her coming in and she was late, what I'm saying, but she comes into it and she has her face all like, I was like, did you get your phone call? And she's looking like, yes. But she was actually there, what I'm saying, and you could tell once she got there, she was really excited to be there, so.
We're talking about community involvement. What are steps and efforts? I mean, it sounds like there's some good steps and progress that is there, but what are ways and efforts being made to increase this community involvement in the education of their children, and also to ensure that they graduate?
We have initiated in student services a school-based mentoring program, realizing that there are other groups in the community that we partner with that have had a great history mentoring. So it was Dr. Till's vision that we would have a school-based mentoring program in Cumberland County Schools. So he approached Natasha Scott, our Executive Director of Student Services, and she made it happen. And we can see so many benefits. I myself am a mentor of a student in an elementary school, and I have also become a mentor to her sister. And many of our administrators at Central Services are mentors now at the high school level. And it's just, it's a rewarding experience not only for the students, but for us as well. So the school-based mentoring right now is that's the hottest thing going right now that we have to involve the community. And we're looking for mentors. Training is held on a regular basis, and if anyone is interested, all you have to do is contact the Student Services Department at 910-678-2433 and ask for Bobby Joe Pova.
I was a part of a mentor program, the Value Youth Program. I was a part of that, and I remember it was a young man in one of the classes. I think it was the fifth grade. I was helping with the fifth grade and the second grade, and I remember he was a troubled student, and he was just all upset one day, and I found out it was his birthday, and nobody told him happy birthday because he was one of the students that picked on other students or got into it all the time, and I told him happy birthday, and the smile that went across his face, I was like, wow, I really touched this child, and he was just happy the whole day. The teacher said, what did you say to him? I was like, I just told him happy birthday. And she was like, well, he's been pretty good the last few days. So that was my impact, and that made me want to go every day. And just as well as in the fifth grade, it was a student in the second grade that had the same story. He didn't really like to talk to people. He stayed to himself, and I had a one-on-one moment with him, and he got mad the days I didn't come because he didn't always attend the second grade. We just went there when the older kids had EOGs or benchmark testing. We would go to the second grade. So I feel like the mentoring program is something that the kids look up to. They have someone to look up to, a big brother or a big sister. If they're the only siblings, they don't know what they expect, so that impacts them a lot.
We've been hovering about the same. What do you expect for next year? Numbers just came out, right? And so we are the lowest, Cumberland County, one of the lowest numbers in the state, still hovering about the same as we were last year. What are expectations on our graduation numbers, the percentage for this next year? What are we hoping for, planning for, and the extra mile that people are going to see this through?
Well, I'm going to speak on 71st for a second because Dr. Vanessa Alford, our principal, has really embraced this and taken it upon herself to make sure to go to every mile that you can go to make sure these students can meet graduation by June 8th. And with the NovaNet that we have going on at the school, getting students involved, we've even started Saturday school, 2 Saturdays a month. That if students want to come in and work on their NovaNet and get through those courses, they can. So everyone that wants to walk on June 8th will walk on June 8th.
I think for our school for Fuller, we really have and the principal and I, Ms. Vernon Lowry, have really been going out trying to make that connection. We've actually went out to the schools and actually met with like high school counselors to try to find out students for one. We've actually been looking at dropouts and actually contacting those students. We've been doing home visits, been getting some really good support from the high schools, actually tracking these students down, students that have left, but also students that are actually in school that are at a traditional school that may need more than the 4 credits that they would be able to get, or maybe even, more than what they would even be able to get even if they took NovaNet classes to be able to get them in at Fuller. So we're really looking at like a huge stack right now of students that we really are thinking about pulling in for this year. So last year we were less than 70 for graduation, but we're really trying to set a goal for 100 for Fuller this year. So
I have to agree with each of them also that Mr. K, the graduation rate has gone up at Byrd, and he strives to do that continuously through our support staff. We work with him, we show him transcripts, they look at the different, if they have to change their pathway or just do different things to help that child graduate. So, I think it's only the beginning, and I can speak for, at my school, we are just, we're striving every day to work towards helping those students reach their goal.
And I do want to applaud Fuller Performance Learning Center.
Absolutely.
Since they have opened, it has been an alternative for students that are not in trouble. It's not to send them there. It is an actual second chance when they don't think that they have a second chance anywhere else. And I have seen great success with a lot of kids who didn't feel 71st was a match for them, but they went on to Fuller and graduated. And nothing makes me happy. As long as they finish, that's all that matters. If it happens to not be at my school, that's okay. If it can be at Douglas Byrd, super, as long as you finish. That is all that matters.
I would like to touch on what Ms. Thomas was saying. I actually graduated a year earlier than what I was supposed to at Fuller. I found out I was graduating 4 months before graduation, and I remember at the time the principal was Terrence McAllister. I remember he would come on the intercom, graduation is right around the corner. It's your choice. If you want to walk, I would do everything in my power to help you walk. The choice is yours. And I remember I was here like, wow, I need to really do my work because I want to walk. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to walk 2011. I wound up walking 2010, and it was a blessing that I actually did get that chance to graduate early. And those words, the choice is yours. If you want to walk, I would do everything in my power to see that you walk. And he actually did. Him, the guidance counselor, the teachers. And when I walked, I just felt good going across that stage. I was like, wow, I actually made it. A year before, when I was told by teachers at certain schools, the way your math grades look, you're not gonna make it. But I actually went to Fuller. I passed math. I got awards for math. I was doing the best I could, all because those words, the choice is yours. If you want to walk, I would do everything in my power to see that you walk. And he kept his word.
And you kept yours.
And I kept mine.
Yes. I know each of you actually seems like you are living and breathing the importance of graduation. But let's talk about that. Let's just throw this out, and I'm going to give you each a chance to talk about the value and importance of graduation. And Derek, if you want to just wrap it up at the end, and you can give your perspective on that question. And Tanya, just start with you.
Okay. Well, just the importance of actually graduating. What happens is that it really truly gives students that power to feel like, you know what, I can achieve something. Because most students, that have actually been in the school system that are at risk for not graduating have been those students that have been told, you know what, you're not going to make it. You're not college material. Whether they have a home environment that they don't have actually that support at home to actually encourage them. It really is that chance to say, you know what, I have actually made a choice to do something. I have actually graduated and I can be something. And I think that's the most powerful part of it. And it is a collaborative effort, from everyone, within the school system, but then also in the community, to be able to come together to make sure that that person knows, and even that person making those choices, letting them know that, yeah, this is your choice. The final choice is truly yours, but it's about us coming together saying, we really, truly care for you as a person, and we will do everything that we can to make sure that you graduate.
And I'd just like to say that we know that when young people drop out, their future is not as positive as it is when they graduate. Now, certainly we know a 4-year college is not for everyone, but a high school diploma, as Ms. Sanders said, it opens the door to so many opportunities. When we look at the data, we know that high school dropouts, they have less bargaining power at the table. There have been instances of poor health. Some studies have shown that their health, it impacts their whole lives. So going back to what you said previously, we're looking for a very low dropout rate for this school year and a high graduation rate. And it's very exciting because the fact that we are hovering where we were last year, I can see it in the principals when we're talking. I can see it when I'm talking to the counselors and social workers. It's kind of like that competitive nature is kicked in, that hovering at the same rate is just not good enough. So we're all kind of geared up now to do whatever it takes to make sure that that we can have every student who wants to and who we can help to encourage to graduate and not drop out of school. So we're looking for great things.
When you had posed that question, a student came to my mind, and it's a student who had dropped out twice, and she is back and she's ready to go and she's going to graduate. And she had said to me when we were driving to school one day, I'm going to be the first one to graduate in 50 years in my family. And I think that that just will change so much for future generations for her. Her mom is extremely proud of her, and I think it's a lot for their families also. You know, a lot of our families that we have worked with, you know, they don't have transportation, they're not able to, you know, come to many things at the schools, and I think that this graduation for, you know, these students to graduate is just changing a lot of the course for these families. I think that it paves a new way. It's inspiration to them, and I think that, you know, it just shows that the child made a choice. They made a choice. They chose to do it. I think, you know, with the right people around them, I think anything's possible. I think it just, you know, opportunities are endless for them once they get that diploma. I think every student who drops out, you know, a lot of them will end up returning at some point, and we hope that we can, you know, provide what we need to for them at whatever outlet in Cumberland County. But I think that they want it too. Every student wants to graduate. It's just what we hand them that makes it possible.
Everything that was said is absolutely true. And just today, I mean, my peer helper, who has taken a little longer to graduate than maybe some of the others, but he's graduating in June and is making A's and B's right now, where 2 years ago we were not there. And I had a worry that he might not make it. And he ended up turning it completely around and is being so successful. And I sat on the bench with a younger student on one side of me this afternoon and the older one on the other side. And the older one looked and said, don't make the same mistakes I've made. Once you get to where I'm at and I see graduation, you'll want to see it too. Do the right thing. And as long as we can get peers to motivate one another, the battle is going to be won. That is where teachers are a huge impact, do not get me wrong. But peers, if you hold each other accountable, and they all want to see each other walk across that stage together. And when that happens, every year I work with graduation and I cry afterwards because you see the happiness on these kids' face who didn't always think that they could do it. And it's opening doors. I always encourage, don't let it stop here. Take that next stop. Start at a community college if you want to, or go straight to wherever. Militaries, you know, a lot of times where they want to start so they can have money for college. It's just, the doors are open.
Well, I would like to say graduation day for me, it was pretty big. The thing that touched me where I seen my mom crying, my aunt crying, the family crying, and the teachers were crying. And that made me smile. I was like, wow, I actually made it. And it's funny that you said peers hold each other accountable. The valedictorian and the salutatorian, they had this competition going on at Fuller. He was like, oh, well, I'm going to be valedictorian. She was like, no, I got it. So they were basically racing to see who was going to be the top dog at the school. So they came out, they made their speeches. They were making their speeches months in advance. They just knew that they had that thing. And the teachers, them, when they found out, they were laughing. They was like, well, we don't know. They knew, but they was like, we're not telling. So it was pretty good to see those two actually get the top dog at the school. So with me, my thing was, I wasn't the first in my family to graduate, but I was the first to take it the extra mile, which was come to college. And I had a lot of support from the community. Those like, man, you have a gift. There's something about you. You're the chosen one out your family. Do something about it. So the environment you come from, you can't always say that's the reason you dropped out or that's the reason you didn't graduate, because the people that you see in the neighborhood that didn't make something of themselves, those were the ones that was coming to me. Don't be like me. You can be better. You can do this. You can do that. And like you said, it starts in the community. It starts in the home. There are really no excuses. It starts with you. You didn't have this, you didn't have that. You can't always use that as a crutch, because if you look around you and see you want to change, you want a different scenery, start within yourself. So if your goal is to walk across that stage, walk. If your goal is to get the diploma, get the diploma. If you don't want to walk, just get the diploma. But walking and getting the diploma was just the top of the skies was the limit. It was passing for me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all being here and your sharing today. WFSS is participating in the American Graduate Award Project, and today thanking the participants in this forum. Thank you for giving your time, your energies, and your talents. Appreciate you very much.